Today's story is about a Hikikomori who kidnapped a girl and held her captive for 10 years. In the winter of 1999, a call came into a health center in Kashiwazaki City, Japan. The caller was an elderly woman who shared a shocking story. She said that her mentally ill son's violence was getting worse as he would hit, kick, and sometimes torment her with an electric shock device. She pleaded for help, explaining that he would tie her up and not let her use the bathroom. On January 19th, 2000, health center staff visited the woman's home. The household consisted of the son and his mother, with the father having passed away long ago. When the staff knocked on the son's door on the second floor, he got angry and refused to open it. Despite their attempts to persuade him, he wouldn't budge, so they decided to return later, having noted the signs of violence and the mother's injuries. Eventually, the health center and a psychiatric hospital collaborated to forcibly hospitalize the son. On January 28th, 2000, at around 1:30 p.m., 7 staff members visited the house again. They blocked the entrance to prevent any incidents and sent 5 members to the son's room on the second floor. The son was asleep in bed and became agitated when woken, protesting their presence. A staff member explained that he needed to be hospitalized, leading to a violent reaction. The staff restrained him, and a doctor administered a sedative. Then one staff member noticed something unusual. A bundle of blankets in the corner of the bed was moving. They cut the blanket cover with scissors, discovering a young girl inside. The staff were shocked and asked her where she came from. She was in a panic and couldn't calm down. They called the son's mother, asking who the girl was, but the mother was equally shocked and claimed not to know her. Realizing something serious was amiss, the staff reported the discovery of the unidentified girl to the police. They transported the son, mother, and girl to the hospital. During the drive, a staff member asked the girl for her name again. She finally gave her name, address, date of birth, and her parents' names, revealing that she had been kidnapped and held captive for a long time. The staff member then recalled a long missing girl, and upon arrival at the hospital, contacted the police with this information. The girl's name was Fusako, and she had been abducted 10 years earlier, held captive without stepping outside even once. The kidnapper was Nobuyuki Sato, whose mother had called the health center due to his violence. This shocking case became public, and the police immediately went to Nobuyuki's house to conduct a search. Over the course of a week, they found Fusako's clothes and belongings from the time of her abduction. 10 years earlier, she had been a fourth-grade elementary school student. Nobuyuki Sato was arrested for the crime of kidnapping and confining Fusako. Fusako suffered from severe post-traumatic stress disorder and was in such a weakened state that she could barely stand or walk. She had lost so much strength that she couldn't stand without someone supporting her. What happened to Fusako during the long 10 years she was missing? On November 13th, 1990, Nobuyuki was driving alone in his car. Around 5 p.m., he was driving on a deserted road when he spotted Fusako walking alone. At that time, she was a fourth-grade elementary school student. Upon seeing her, Nobuyuki decided to kidnap her. He immediately stopped his car, approached her, and threatened her with a weapon, telling her not to scream. Terrified, she was forced into the trunk of his car, and he drove away. On his way home, Nobuyuki stopped the car once to tie Fusako's limbs with tape and blindfold her. To avoid being caught by his mother, he took her through the back door of the house and brought her to his room on the second floor. Thus began Fusako's nightmarish 10-year captivity. Despite living in the same house for 10 years, Nobuyuki's mother was completely unaware of Fusako's presence. Meanwhile, when Fusako did not return home that evening, her family reported her missing to the police. Over 200 people, including police officers and school officials, joined the search. 2 days after her disappearance on November 15th, the police set up a missing persons investigation headquarters with 107 officers. The search area was expanded to neighboring villages, using helicopters for aerial searches, inspecting empty houses and containers, and conducting night checks, but they still couldn't find her. 20,000 missing person flyers with Fusako's photo were distributed, and the police investigated local individuals with similar past offenses, but they still couldn't find her. In the 1990s, CCTV and dash cams were not common, and the area was sparsely populated, so there were no witnesses. As the police failed to find any leads and the investigation became more complex, the momentum of the search gradually diminished. The number of people involved in the search effort dwindled until, by Christmas that year, the search was called off and the investigation headquarters was disbanded. Thus, Fusako's disappearance remained a cold case. However, her family continued to distribute missing person flyers every year from 1991 to 1999. Due to her mysterious disappearance, various rumors circulated, including that she might have been kidnapped by North Korean agents or abducted by a cult. In police investigations, Fusako revealed that during her captivity, she was often in severe pain and wanted to scream, but refrained from doing so, fearing Nobuyuki would kill her. Instead, she bit her own body or the blanket to endure the pain. She also disclosed that Nobuyuki habitually beat her for nearly 10 years. To survive, she employed various strategies. She would offer her cheek to be slapped to avoid potential blindness from being hit in the eyes. Nobuyuki also tormented her with an electric shock device, and she admitted to getting used to the shocks by self-administering them when he wasn't around. Fusako mentally distanced herself from the beatings by convincing herself that the person being beaten was not her. When she was rescued after 10 years, she was in an extremely weakened state. She weighed 101 pounds before her disappearance, but 10 years later, she had lost 13 pounds. Nobuyuki limited her food intake over the 10 years. Initially, he fed her the lunches his mother made for him, but soon after, he started buying convenience store lunches for her. In 1996, he noticed a wart on Fusako's foot and irrationally concluded she was developing diabetes. As a result, he reduced her meals to once a day. Fusako's minimal diet and prolonged confinement to her bed severely weakened her body. Medical examinations after her rescue revealed severe malnutrition, muscle atrophy, osteoporosis, and iron deficiency anemia. Even more shocking was that she had only taken one bath in about 10 years. One unusual aspect of her captivity was that Nobuyuki did not sexually assault Fusako during the 10 years, a fact that Fusako herself confirmed. When the police asked Nobuyuki about this, he said he intended to raise Fusako and eventually marry her. Nobuyuki's actions, as described by Fusako, supported this claim. He regularly gave her manga and newspapers and allowed her to watch TV and listen to the radio to keep her informed. This was to ensure her intelligence did not remain at an elementary school level. As a result, her cognitive abilities did not appear significantly below average. On the evening of Fusako's rescue, the police held a press conference to announce that she had been found after being missing for 10 years. The news made front-page headlines the next day and garnered enormous attention. Initially, the police did not disclose the perpetrator's identity. However, a media outlet revealed Nobuyuki's name and photo, exposing his identity and past actions. Nobuyuki was an only child, born in 1962 to a 62-year-old father and a 36-year-old mother. When he was in his first year of middle school, he was diagnosed with obsessive-compulsive disorder, a condition his father also had. In his teenage years, Nobuyuki became increasingly violent towards his elderly father, who was then in his mid-70s, and his aggression extended to his mother. After graduating from high school, he got a job at an auto parts manufacturing company, but quit after a few months and became a hikikomori, social recluse. At 19, in 1981, Nobuyuki forced his elderly father into a nursing home. When his mother expressed her fear and intention to leave, he became enraged and set the house on fire. This incident led to his diagnosis with obsessive-compulsive neurosis and subsequent medication treatment, but there was no improvement. He continued to beat his mother, treating her like a servant. He would instruct her to record TV programs he wanted to watch, and if she made any mistakes, he would beat her. He did the same to Fusako. If she failed, he beat her just as he did his mother. In 1989, before kidnapping Fusako, Nobuyuki was caught attempting to molest a fourth grade child and was arrested in the act. He was given a suspended sentence and released, but was not placed under probation. The court merely ordered his mother to supervise him. During this period, his father passed away in the nursing home. After a lengthy legal battle, Nobuyuki was sentenced to 15 years in prison, the maximum penalty for a single crime of this nature at the time. While the punishment was light considering the severity of his actions, it was limited to 15 years because sexual violence or violence resulting in lasting disability could not be proven. The police raised questions about whether Nobuyuki's mother really did not know about Fusako's presence in the same house. When questioned, Nobuyuki's mother claimed she had been too afraid to go to the second floor, where her son's room was, since his violent behavior began. The police investigation found no fingerprints of the mother on the second floor, supporting her claim, and she was ultimately cleared of any charges. Nobuyuki was released from prison in 2015 after serving his 15-year sentence. No one came to greet him upon his release. His mother had passed away while he was incarcerated. Nobuyuki did not return to his old neighborhood, but moved to Chiba Prefecture, where he lived alone on basic welfare support. In 2017, he was found dead from solitary death. He provided no compensation to Fusako and her family and only offered a perfunctory apology before his death. After being rescued, Fusako needed a long time to recover from her physical and psychological injuries. She also suffered from secondary harm when some of her personal information was disclosed by the media. However, the last report from 2015 indicated that Fusako, then in her 30s, was living a quiet life with her family.